The Jedi Knight series of games are my sequel trilogy. That is the Star Wars sequels. With the most important game being Dark Forces 2. Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 came out in 1997, and as a Star Wars diehard fan, this was one of the most important games of my early childhood. I got into Star Wars super young. It's some of the earliest memories, and as far back as I can remember, Dark Forces 2, to me, was Episode 7. And I don't mean that, like, on a personal level where I say, this is my Episode 7, what's yours? No. I mean, I truly believed that Dark Forces 2 was what they intended, what LucasArts, what George Lucas intended to carry on Star Wars. Forever, video games, to me, were just as important in terms of storytelling as film was. I didn't even think to compare them. It was like comparing film and television. It's just another medium to deliver fantastic stories. And the sole reason I didn't bat an eye and fully believe that this was the sequel to Star Wars was because of Dark Forces 2's FMV live-action cutscenes. And it's the only game to do that in the series, and primarily the one who sold me on this being the sequel was the lead character, Mr. Kyle Katarn. This is the man I saw as a fusion between Luke Skywalker with Han Solo mannerisms. It just made sense that this was where Star Wars was going, and with our previous heroes winning the day and moving on, it felt like it was perfect for a smaller scale story featuring a scoundrel with force powers to take on the Dark Jedi, who may not pose a threat to the galaxy at large, but have the ability to create a more personal story with our conflicted and layered hero. Now, over the course of the years, I learned that no, it was not the intent for Jedi Knight to be the true successor to Star Wars, as worthy as it still is in my eyes. But I always say that Dark Forces 2 is Episode 7, and even if you don't want to play it, as a Star Wars fan, you really do owe it to yourself to at least watch it. Just watch the cutscenes on YouTube and watch Kyle Katarn go to work there. Over the years, I would wonder what happened to Kyle Katarn, the actor that embodied him so well, who you see right before you here, not the droid, but the other guy. What happened to him, and as well as those cutscenes that I've watched just my entire life? Well, he didn't go on, to my surprise, to become a majorly successful actor. He just disappeared from the limelight, both from Hollywood and the games industry. But out of nowhere now, we have our very first sit-down interview with the man who is Kyle Katarn. Decades later, Jason Court, and while it is even briefer, the interview that is, than this monologue I wrote, this is something I've truly waited forever to see. So without further ado, let's go take a look at the full interview. It's only 5 minutes with Kyle Katarn here.
They asked me to do it, since you asked.
So there you have it. That interview was done by Films in Review. Films in Review there, which this video has since blown up. They have 1.36K subs, and yeah, that got 58,000 views. So that is their biggest video to date. And it seems like they just interview like old cult actors, you know, character actors and everything. So I don't know how they snagged this interview. This is something like I have literally wanted to see for decades now. So thank you, Films in Review, for doing that. However you did it, I don't even know. Thank you, Fractured, for telling me. Fractured is probably the only person I know that likes Dark Forces 2 even more than I do. So that is so fucking awesome. And it's great to see him. And I did always wonder, I was like, what happened to that guy? Because like I thought Kyle Katarn, that actor playing him, like he was so good, and like he like I said, it really, as a child, because I was a child and I was playing that at the same time that I was watching Star Wars constantly. To me, that character was right alongside Harrison Ford as Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, and so I always wondered, it's like, well, you know, Mark Hamill went on to be the Joker. Harrison Ford did many things. He flew his plane into a golf course drunk and then says, you know, yells about climate change or whatever. But you can track all the other actors. And I was just like, what happened to this guy? Did he die? He didn't die. He just stepped away. and I never understood why. I would love if that interview was 2 hours. I would absolutely love it. That interview is 5 minutes. It seems like that is it. But it seems like he just retired to a peaceful life. He never intended to be like an actor. But he does say, hey, Disney, you want to bring Kyle back? I will do it. Of course he will. You're not going to say no to Disney money, especially it's like he looks like he's a farmer or something now. Like, of course he would. I have no doubt that Disney would ruin the character and do horrible things. I personally am of the belief that Disney should do nothing anymore. I don't want them to touch Revan. I don't want them to touch Kyle. I don't want them to touch anything. I just want them to let Star Wars die already, and just keep my memories of Star Wars intact as they should be and not bastardized. But it was super awesome to see, and I just wish he did more. I wish he did more as Kyle, or that the following games, which I think are even better in terms of gameplay, not so much in story though. I wish they kept using FMVs and kept using him, because all the characters in that, not just him, are amazing. Jarek's amazing, and he was like the basis of the character. So just wonderful to see. Glad to see that he's alive and well and kicking, and that's something I truly waited decades for. So thank you again, Fractured, for that. Kay, do you have any thoughts on all that?
What was so refreshing about that too was hearing from somebody who actually understands and appreciates the fans of the media that he created, and understanding the impact of that, and not just being like, yeah, I did this part, whatever. Like, you can tell he actually genuinely cares.
Yeah.
And he might not be like an avid gamer or whatever, but he's like, yeah, they mod the games and they, like they fix this and that. So he's like at least paying attention to, the following of it. So I just thought that was really cool and refreshing. Like, it was nice to hear someone go and be genuine about something they worked on, and it like really just
it seems like he really was disconnected from not only Hollywood but also video games, and he didn't really you can hear him when he's talking about how the modders are fixing up the game and polishing it, and he's like, speeding up those graphics or something. So
exactly.
So he doesn't really know how video games work, and he probably just thought this was a gig or a job, and then he has a friend that's like, you have no idea how important you were for Star Wars and video games. And video games 100%. Are now, he might not even be aware, it's like, video games are just as big, if not bigger, than Hollywood now, right? And so it's just, it's wild to see. It's like, to me, Kyle Katarn is like the equivalent of, in Hollywood, like your Lon Chaney Sr. Like, he's the old actor that will be a pioneer 100 years from now, when you're hopefully still playing video games that aren't fucking garbage. It's like you might have someone that does enjoy that old stuff and respects the classics and remembers him and Jarek and Morgan Katarn and all these characters and everything. So I'm glad that fans show him appreciation and that he's realizing that now. I would, what I really hope is Night Dive did such a fantastic job with the Dark Forces remaster. And Dark Forces 1 plays great. It arguably has the best gameplay if you're a Doom fan like me, because it plays like Doom of the entire series. The story is almost non-existent. Now I'll be crucified by real Star Wars fans, because it's like, what do you mean non-existent? He stole the Death Star plans. In Dark Forces 1, Kyle Katarn steals the Death Star plans. That's the whole plot. And so it's not Rogue One and all that shit. And so that part's good, but it's mostly just Doom gameplay. It's all just to service Doom gameplay. Dark Forces 2 is where it really has a story. But they did such a good job with that. It doesn't have, FMV cutscenes and everything. I always said I really want them. And I had the Night Dive CEO. I think he still follows me. I'm not sure. I may have pissed him off a few times. But I sent him several tweets being like, remake Dark Forces 2 with the FMV cutscenes intact. Do whatever you want to it, but you have to keep Kyle Katarn and all of them and all the FMV cutscenes intact. And he's liked it, several of them. So I don't know if they're working on it. If you're interested to play it yourself right now, though, the best way to do it is